Welcome to the Crazy Ralph podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete.
So, episode 4. We've made it further than most people probably would have thought. And this is going to be a real fun one. I probably say that a lot, but it is. This is the... excuse me, I'm coming off a chest cold, so I apologize. This is the many looks of Jason. And so we're not going to really talk about the actors and the performances. That'll be in another episode. But we're going to just talk about wardrobe, the plain and simple. And speaking of which, you're a New York guy, right?
Born in New York, live in California now, yeah.
Okay, are you a Yankees fan? I just realized I'm wearing a Yankees hat.
Not that much into baseball since MJ's was born in Wisconsin, so I kind of bipartisan. Am like a Brewers fan. I won't do the Cubs like my daughter. She's a Cubs fan, but I'm like, no.
No, okay, all right. Okay, I'm hoping that this isn't gonna spark something because honestly, it's just a black hat. I need a haircut, and I feel like I'm always hair not ready for this podcast, and I gotta smarten up. It's a old hat, but it's serving a purpose right now. All right, so but before we begin talking about the many looks of Jason, I'm gonna throw it to you, Pete. We got some news in the Friday world.
Yeah, so I think it's just this past March. We're getting more information about the Crystal Lake series that I believe is going to be on Paramount. I'm not 100%. Sorry, I missed that on there. But there's not a lot of information on it, which is kind of weird. They're keeping a lot of it hush-hush. Like, we don't know how much Jason's going to be part of it. I mean, can they pull off an origin story for Pamela? Is that what people want to see in Crystal Lake? Yeah. I mean, I think Crystal Lake people want to see Jason, not Pamela. So
yeah,
I'm a little iffy on this show. I'm like, I'm going to be watching it, but they're keeping it like tight-lipped on a lot, like the plot really even.
Yeah.
As far as who's going to be the mainstay? Is it going to be Pamela? We're going to have a teenage Jason learning how to kill, like a Dexter situation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and did they have a release date for that? I think.
I'm looking right now.
I think it's December 20. It's December of this year. So It could be just the fact that they're a little bit early into it. So it's going to be on Peacock, I think I heard.
Okay, Peacock, yep.
And, obviously the biggest news is the casting of Pamela Voorhees, which is Linda Cardellini. And that's cool. I mean, a little bit younger. Kind of go with the sexy thing. Like, it's like the sexy Aunt May, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get Marissa Tomei to change the dynamic here, and then let's get Velma to spice up the Jason thing. So I don't know how that. Yeah, obviously you go younger, you go with a bigger star. Pamela is going to be a major player in that, but we'll keep an eye on the news and we'll talk about it as it shows up. But like you said, right now, there's really not a heck of a lot, just some stills that came out.
And even with, like, supposedly everyone keeps saying we're going to get another Friday the 13th movie, but they've been saying that for decades now, since the remake in 2009. I'm not giving up hope, but it's like we still can't get anything ironclad. Like, director, studio, bam, is making a Friday the 13th movie. I know they just recently announced a new the director for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, another reboot.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, it's and then there's Sean Cunningham. God bless him. I mean, I think he's like around 85 or so. And he wants to bring Jason back. I remember seeing that. I think I put it out on the Instagram page, and there's like. Wants to bring it back old school, whatever, something like that. I'm paraphrasing and quoting at the same time. So there is grumblings about Friday the 13th these days, which is kind of cool. It's kind of good for us.
Because there's stuff to talk about.
It sure does, and it will as the year goes on. We're here for the long haul. So, as news breaks, we'll talk about it, and obviously want to hear what people have to say about about the news and what they think. I mean, obviously, you know, kind of like a prequel or whatever it's setting up to be. I think it's kind of a cool idea. I don't know how much legs it has, like, you know, and I don't know how much what the patience level is. And we talked about this before, like, you know, people really, oddly enough, have such a low tolerance for anything Friday the 13th without a hockey mask associated with it. It's kind of I don't understand it, but obviously it goes to show how powerful that image of Jason is.
Yeah.
Which is a great segment to the many looks of Jason. Oh, sorry. Do you have anything else? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, that's it. Yeah, it's almost like no news is good news because we don't know yet. So
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, I think they really want to hash out. The way I'm looking at it, hopefully, they're just waiting until they really have something solid. They don't want to just throw some crap out there like we've seen with other franchises in the past. Hey, we're going to lose the rights, so let's throw some garbage out there so we don't lose the rights.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a franchise that's done things the hard way many times, but we still love it regardless. But all right, so and once again, I'm going to ask everybody just to bear with me if I do struggle a little bit. We didn't record last week because I was in the thick of this, and I don't want to harp on it, but at the same time, I want some pity for my coughs and not some criticism. So we're gonna go dive right into it. So it's really funny when you have a horror franchise like this, and we were just talking about it. It's kind of ironic, right? You have the iconic image of the hockey mask, which nobody can do without. However, within that, there have been many looks for Jason, many looks for that hockey mask too.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about them. We'll jump around, but obviously, part one is a logical spot to start. And part one, actor was Ari Lehman, popular Jason, does a lot of fan expos and all that kind of stuff. So.
He's probably like the most prolific, like popular, like Jason actor that's out there. Like he loves the cons.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does. And I think he has. Was his band First Jason or something like that? I think he has a.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's called First Jason. If I'm wrong on that, I apologize. Again, it was so sick, right? So I couldn't even do my homework on this. But Tom Savini did the makeup for this one. Yep. So it was. I'll let you start with the original OG. I mean, obviously, part one was just a jump out of the lake, but so
with his look, there's not much to go on because there's only a few seconds he actually gets screen time. You know, she's in the canoe paddling to still waters. You think the movie's over, and then bam. Great jump scare. Again, that's one of those films I wish I could have watched it in the theater, not knowing any clue what was going to happen. First time, like in 1980, that would have been killer. Like that jump scare to really, jump you out of your seat. It's creepy, unsettling, because normally you don't see a child like super deformed like that. It's unsettling. Adults is different, but to see a child, I think it makes it even more unsettling. And like, what's this kid doing in the lake? He just grabbed him. Was it a dream or whatnot? So great look, great way to end the film, and they didn't show too much. They showed just enough, and then stopped.
Yep. You like the look?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about it. I was like, what would I have liked to have seen other than that? And part of it is, I guess, that image is in my life for as long as I can remember being around. So, you really have nothing else to go on. But, I love it. The bald look was just like unique, right? Not many kids are like have that kind of mongoloid, I've heard, look, and just enough deformity
where it's like believable, but not like. It's not like so over the top, like, that would never happen. It's like, nope, that's 100% believable.
Yeah, and that's a testament to Tom Savini, who tries to keep it grounded in reality, which is I think worked. You know, he dirtied him up enough. Not really much to talk about. Doesn't have an outfit. I mean, he's naked pretty much. I guess he's got some shorts on under there, but really not too much to dive in there. But so one of the funny things, and I really look forward to this episode. It's way down at the not the end of the season, but you're going to have to keep watching. But we're going to talk about the continuity of Friday 13th, and that is something special.
Yes.
But you know, I was trying to like decipher ages, like, you know, for each look, and that's one of the toughest things for Friday 13th is actually pinning ages to the Jason. So I'm not even going to go there right now. Maybe we could talk about that in the continuity episode. But you know, just kind of going over that, like he was you know, disguises for the most part. He was, you know, no mask, no clothes, and we move on. Part 2. Yep. Is grown up. Now he's about 5. It takes place about 5 years after the first Friday the 13th. I don't know if the size matches up, but we won't go too deep into that. But part 2 was kind of interesting because it's a look for Jason from in many ways that is not embodied in any other horror Friday the 13th film. So it's got either, you know, people who love it or people who don't like it. I think most people are on the side of, like, they love it. They understand what it is. You, if I'm not mistaken, you really love this look, right?
I do love it because I love the town that dreaded sundown, and I can see what they were going for. Like, again, I'll have little props. I just think it works well. It's kind of like Backwoods. He just threw this sack over his head to cover up his deformity. You know, how does he look as an adult with this deformity? You only see one eye. It's dirty, and it's featureless, which is the same thing with the hockey mask, which, you know, adds to the level of fear and everything. But yeah, it's Backwoods. He's wearing overalls, a plaid shirt. It fits really well with him living in the woods by himself right now. And he's just going to throw this type of stuff together. And the sack really works because those close-up shots when you just see his eyeball, it's a little scary. It's terrifying. That eye, you know, they say it opens to the soul. I mean, obviously in Black Christmas, you see the eye at the end. It's scary. Those shots of just one eyeball is unsettling because normally you always see two. So I think the psychology now really works as well with the sack only having one eye. So I really do love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a logical outfit, right? Like, you know, it's like this is something that he would have dug up or, you know, killed off of someone, and it fits the environment. So I think from being thinking of from it logically, I like it. And the sack, I mean, obviously, you know, Jason's self-conscious, right? You know, he was put through the ringer apparently, and he was made fun of, and he wants to cover up. And my only thing is I love the sack. I just think the functionality of it sometimes bothers me. I'm like, is he too dumb to kind of carve out that other eye hole, or is his eye so badly damaged that it doesn't matter if there's another eye hole there? So I think, like, you know, if that were me running around with a sack, it'd be very, very frustrating. So kudos to Jason for making it work. But I love it.
I think stylistically, like reality, like if you put a sack on your head, that eye is going to shift as your head is moving around. It's not going to be stationary. So I think that was one of the documentaries. I say that it was difficult. They had to like put double-sided tape on the inside so it would actually stay on his face. So the functionality is not that great, so I'll take some points off of the functionality of it. But yeah.
Yep. And then at the end, obviously, there's the reveal with his face, which I always liked. I kind of thought, like, you know, because it's funny, actually, I saw part 3 and 4 before I saw part 2. So going back to part 2, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's different. Like, you know, but it kind of looked like that younger kind of version of a guy, like, you know, and, you know, he had long scrappy hair. You know, he was a ginger. He and you know, he had the scruff, but it looked like an evolution of the first makeup. I thought, like, especially the one side, the more deformed side. I thought it was really well done. What did you think of his face in part 2?
It was, again, unlike like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. It looks like this is the older version of the guy that Ari played in the first one, with his maturity, long hair, like the shifting where the eye was down low, the other one's up a little high. And it's unsettling to look at. Obviously the hair is going to be all messed up. He's not sitting there with the bic, shaving up. So it really worked well with that.
Yeah.
Granted, he wouldn't have a full beard because he's not that old yet.
Yeah.
But like the little scruff on his face, the hair being all messed up. It's more believable. I think it works well.
I think, funny enough, like, as we're talking about it, I really think like there's logic to how they built this Jason. Like, we're talking through it, right? The outfit makes sense. It looks like something from that, from that he would wear or find or whatever. The evolution, the scruffiness and everything like that. Whereas, the iconic look that we all got used to, is almost arbitrary in comparison to like part 2. It seems more grounded in like, a reality. And I mean, I love part 2 because I don't need my Jason in a mask, hockey mask, although obviously I love that, but I can appreciate this film without a hockey mask and really enjoy it. And I just love how it builds to the look of Jason, right? It's like, it'd be like Freddy getting his glove in part 3, right? Like, it's kind of, it's weird to think, like, or even Michael Myers getting his mask. And
I mean, the character's most popular look wasn't solidified till the third movie.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And arguably one of the most iconic looks in horror films, or in films even. All right. So, anything you want to add to part 2? Again, we'll probably come back.
I like how you tagged in saying it's one of the most iconic. You show anybody a Jason mask, say name a horror movie, guaranteed. Some people may miss Halloween. They may not. I just think the familiarity of the way the hockey mask, which we're going to get into the next movie, is synonymous with Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I can't agree more, and it's not even a biased opinion. It's just fact.
Yeah.
That's what we try to do on this show. We try to bring you the facts. Actually, that's not true. That's one thing I want to talk about with a podcast, because sometimes you watch these podcasts and you have these hosts that hammer home all this, in the 67th frame of the 5th scene, you're gonna see what the director was trying, and we're not gonna do that. We're not. I'm not saying we're gonna do a view from 30,000 feet, but we will get a fact wrong here and there. I'm not gonna pretend that I know every single detail of Friday the 13th. It's funny because out of everybody I knew growing up, I was the Friday the 13th guy. Everybody, Jason, whatever, and I was like, I had so much Friday facts. I was strong on my game. Along comes social media, and I don't know about you, but like, social media makes you realize that there are people out there that live and breathe certain things, and all kinds of things, from sports to whatever, and you realize how, holy crap, like, as much as I know about this, as much as I think I know about this, there are people that actually go to bed with this stuff.
Exactly. It's crazy.
It is. It's impressive. It's kind of scary and sad, but it's awesome too. All right, so part 3 comes along, and it's tough to stay on topic sometimes, because again, with the continuity and all that stuff. But part 3 is one of those things that I thought it was kind of weird in a sense, because you got the same director, Steve Miner, who did part 2, doing this the very next year, and I just found the continuity of Jason was so thrown out the window. And, I don't know, I mean, if you were directing a film, right, and you got this killer, the next movie I don't know. Would you think to just completely abort the look and everything, given the fact that it's days later in the storyline as well?
Yeah.
Right. So
like,
but we're not going to go there because that's continuity. We're not going to go there with the continuity. We'll get to that in a future episode. Teasing that episode like crazy. We're gonna have to make it a double. But my thing is like. And I'm asking you again, as a filmmaker, what could be, this is probably a better way to go about it, what could be his thought process?
See, like, I could understand when, like in the beginning where on the clothesline you see the green shirt and tan pants.
Yeah.
Killer.
Yep.
He steals it, redress himself, but I don't know, I can't answer that question because he goes from all that long, shaggy, ginger hair. Like, again, did he get a bick and shave? How did he cut his hair where it's like bald?
Yeah.
Did he pull a Tommy Jarvis in number 4 and start shaving his head in the mirror? Or it's like, what did he do during his time? That he didn't go grab shaving cream and a straight razor and clean himself up so you couldn't recognize him. Like, in all those spy movies, the guy gets, he got to dye his hair so he can hide himself.
Yeah.
No, is that what he was going for? Like, he changed his clothes, but, yeah, I don't know why... Like the long hair.
Maybe you hit the nail on the head there. Maybe Jason was like, "Okay, they're looking for me. I got to change things up here." Maybe.
Never mind this. They're just worried about the hair.
I think there's two ways. I think there's two explanations for this. I think one, you nailed it. I think if you're looking at it, you're like, okay, he's on the lam. He's hot. He's got to change his image. Like, even he knows this. That's one. Sadly, I think the more realistic story is probably a guy like Steve Miner, who really didn't love, from what I've read, being associated with these films too much. Probably just didn't care. Probably took it as a job, maybe to kind of direct, and maybe didn't have the care to add the feedback that was required. I would love to know. So,
and it could have been like, I don't know. I'd have to, if they talk about on Crystal Lake Memories. I know it's because they changed actors. I think it was William Gillette was in number 2. Then you had Ted White. Ted White I think he went with Ted White because Ted White was more bigger and opposing.
In part 4, though. Part 3 was
in part 4. Yeah. So I think going from that steps I can see, but 2 to 3.
Yeah, right.
It's just like I can keep Grace there.
2, 3, and 4 are within days of each other, right?
Yeah.
So one of the looks, and actually going back to part 2, one of the cool things about the part 2 look is I found him smaller, right? Like, he looked thinner, he looked smaller, he looked younger, and that was cool because he was growing, right? He
wasn't like super strong. Like, he was getting knocked around, he was getting knocked down, not indestructible.
Yeah, exactly, and that was really, really cool. It was like an evolution of him, even though at that time they didn't know it was an evolution because they were just making a movie. But from part 2 to part 3, I mean, he genuinely grew like about a half a foot, and became like more of a.
Put on like 50 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I thought it was an interesting choice. Like, if it was a different director, if there was a lot of years in between, I can understand why you would have such a different look. But anyways, we don't have an answer for that. Maybe someone out there does. Part 3 was also very interesting. Before we even get to the obvious, was a very interesting film because of the two faces of Jason. The one that was created by the great Stan Winston, which wasn't used in the film. And we'll put up some pictures here so everybody can kind of see. And then in applications I have here, again, thank you, Slick, from Cabin 6, Doug White and Kenny Myers. So the two faces of Jason, there's a lot of like drama around that and what happened, and I've heard a lot of stories. I'm not going to really kind of side with one or the other. Which one did you like? Did you like the Stan Winston one, or did you like the one that they ended up going with in the film?
Anytime you tell me Stan Winston, I'm game. I'm biased because he's just the name is iconic. Stan Winston. I preferred the Stan Winston one just a little bit. I mean, I'm not gonna knock it. I can't do special effects. I don't know how they ever do it, but Stan Winston is such the stuff that he can come up with, and it's just crazy. Yeah, Stan Winston.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the movie version. I do like the Stan Winston one. I think it was a little bit more almost monster-like. And I liked it. It's not like I didn't like it at all. But part 3 is my favorite face of Jason.
Okay.
Again, it was just so... it was so ugly and off-putting, but not over the top. Once again, like I this is gonna sound funny, but I knew a guy that looked like that. I mean, he used to visit my mom back in the day because they used to work together, and he would always come to the door. He was this old man. He was just a sweet old man, and he looked like Jason from Part 3. And God bless him, but. I'm just saying, like, when in movies, when they could look similar to like a reality, I feel there's a lot more fear in there because
I 1000% believe that. Yes.
Yeah, and I think Part 3 has that when he's at the window and he's like, trying to break through that window and stuff like that. It to me, that was like one of the freakiest things like ever. Yep. Like, in the whole Friday the 13th series, I just thought it was brilliant. I love that face. I love the Stan Winston one. I do think it was interesting. I think it just makes the lore of Part 3 even that much more rich, which is kind of fun. And we could dive into that one. Maybe we could do a deep dive into the makeups, of Part 3 on its own.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, so Jason adopts in this film the green shirt and the gray or blue or
tan, whatever, depending on the internet site you're on.
So what'd you think of that? What'd you think of his look?
Again, he gets the hockey mask, and it was based off like a Detroit Red Wings mask, which is kind of cool because if you look at those old masks, they were intimidating. Hockey's a tough sport, as you know. So I like that. And I think because it's so featureless, even more so than the bag. And, like, you never really see his eyes that much anymore, here and there. But it's kind of blacked out, and it's featureless. So you don't know if he's angry, sad, scared, angry, apathetic, like nothing. It's just so featureless. And, again, that brings more of the fear to it. And it's so unexpected. Because I got that in my notes. You're in the middle of the woods by a lake. The last thing you think you would see is a hockey mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like in the city by the roller rink or an ice rink. It's not up in Mystery, Alaska or anything like that where they play hockey. It's just in a lake in Jersey in the forest, and here's a hockey mask. Where would I find a hockey mask? Like in a shed, maybe. But and how that, and we mentioned it earlier, and one thing I do want to mention because it's going to go on for continuity, a little touch. I love how the axe slash is from almost all the other films.
Yeah.
Because she hits him in the head with the axe, that it stays in there. Again, that's a continuity thing, but this is the film where it does happen. So he only has a clean hockey mask for one film.
Yeah. No, for sure. I love the look of Jason in this one. I love the lumbering, lanky kind of look of Richard Brooker. I know they padded him up a little bit, but I love that. I like when I love the awkwardness of when he's chasing Chris down the hill there and stuff like that. He looks real. It looks real. It looks like a real.
And that ties in it too a little bit better too with the awkwardness. He wasn't like this big. So yeah.
Yeah, like I love the look of Part 3. Part 3 is actually my favorite look.
Cool.
For Jason. I thought, it's so funny, and you kind of touched on it. Like, now the hockey mask is so synonymous with horror killers film. Mm-hmm. When you think about it back then, to put that on a killer, like, I'm just thinking about it, if I'm a director, right? and someone comes to me and says, I got something to put on his face. Let's put a hockey mask on. I'd have said no. I would have thought that would have been a dumb idea. And I don't mind saying that. Like, I would have thought, okay, that's ridiculous. Why? Like, and, just like the goalie killer, like, and, I would have been wrong, and maybe this is one of those scenarios where the apathy of Steve Miner worked because someone had the idea, and I don't believe it was him, to put on a hockey mask, and legend.
Well, who would think that would work? Cause,
right? Like, it's easy to say now because it's like everybody like knows it, but like put yourself back then. That's a weird one. Like that's weird, and for it to work as well as it did, it's movie magic, right? The rest is history, kind of thing. So
like I would have kept the sack. I don't want to go into long, but like my idea, like maybe I would have kept the sack. So progression, how the hockey mask progressed. The sack could have been burned to his head. It could have been had strips ripped off. It added more. But again, that's me.
Yeah.
I didn't make the movie, but he made that hockey mask iconic.
You're a burnt sack kind of guy, Uncle Pete. that is you. Okay, so oddly enough, this is where you would, if you were to tell me part 2 and 3 were the same filmmaker, I'd be like, really? But if you were to tell me 3 and 4 were the same filmmaker, I'd probably believe it a little bit more because new actor Ted White playing Jason, and but identical outfit, black nails. Which, how'd you feel about those nails? Those black nails in part 4.
I hated the nail in part 2 when you see that black nail when he's going to go stab
Doesn't it bug you?
Yes, it does. So it just bugs me.
Nice.
That black nail. I know we're back to 2.
Happy you brought that up.
It bugs me.
Like you don't have anybody on set that doesn't. I know. Okay, it adds. I don't know. It bugs me too. I'm happy to hear you.
Was he hammering up a picture and hate his thumb?
Oh man, I'm so happy you brought that up. Okay, but the nails in part 4, they're kind of polarizing. What do you thought? You like them?
I could understand dirt, but I don't know if I didn't understand the why. I understand you want to make it look. Maybe you want to make him a little more dirty, but part 3 to 4 is just a hospital ride as far as the difference, really.
Yeah.
So I could understand maybe if he was digging through mud or something as far as continuity.
If he got electrocuted and his nails went black,
maybe his nails got blackened.
Yeah,
but
weird one.
Yeah, but then again, it's one of those things I really don't notice it too much, so it's okay for me to just like gloss over. I'm like, okay, it's still Ted White.
Yeah, and it was Tom Savini returning for this one, and he, obviously, if we're going to talk about the face of Jason, so that was different from part 3, significantly different. Excuse me. And the face in part 4 is the natural evolution of what he created in part 1, which is really, really cool. I liked it. I know that's a face that gets a lot of love, and that's why my hot take that I like part 3's face better is just that, probably a unique take. But here's a question for our viewers, and put it in the comments. What face did you like better, part 3 or part 4? Because I always thought I was in the minority, but as I talk to people, a lot of people I've been hearing kind of agree with me. So I'm curious. I'm curious to know. But okay,
part
so back
3
to
felt more human. 4 felt more monstrous.
Yeah,
like he felt still a little bit more human. In part 3, part 4 felt more like it seemed like a little bit more bulbous. Part 3 felt more realistic.
Yeah, and but anyway, so Joe Zito was the director of this one, and I love how he kept the look of Jason. It would have been ridiculous for him to go from that barn to the hospital and have a different outfit. That that works for me. For me. The Jasons of part 3 and 4 are my love. Like that's the imagery I love. There's unfortunately not a lot of pictures. I think everybody's seen the same pictures of that. They didn't take a lot of pictures back then. But I absolutely adore the Richard Brooker and Ted White,
Yep.
Jason's, and I love the blood just like from that axe wound you were kind of saying, like he just looks mad, pissed,
Yep.
bloody. And part four, how do you what can you say bad about part four? I don't know.
Not much. It's just it's like again, that's everybody's number one or number two because it's just got so much Ted White bursting through that door, and it's just that's hulking like, oh, this guy's moved. He's moving fast. It's just like
Yeah.
he's after me. So
Yeah.
it's great performance.
Yep. And again, just great effects in that one. So it's three and four the double, but then we move to part five, and this
Yep.
again we won't go over all the story and stuff like that. But this is good old Roy. Roy
Yeah.
is our killer in this one, and it's imposter Jason. So let's get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Overalls, I don't know. I mean,
Little Friday, little Halloweenish. So like, I like when the part where Tommy Jarvis is dreaming and it's muddy. You get that
yeah,
Jason, which is
yeah,
kind of cool. It looks like he's dirty and muddy. Evolution is great, but like Roy, even like the action figure is like is shorter
yeah.
than like regular Jason. He just didn't
Skinnier.
seem. Yeah, he definitely wasn't as imposing. He moved way differently. Obviously, different actor.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of the bald cap because it's like, okay, I understand you want to make people think you're Jason, but you went out and got this bald cap and fit it to your face to make people think you're Jason, but he never had a connection to. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but I didn't like. You put the blue on there because it's the same, but it's different. I just didn't understand it. Why I love number five as a film.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of the decisions I just didn't understand. If you really want to do imposter Jason, maybe go with the regular mask without the cleave in it.
Wait,
And then
I'm gonna call you on something though. I'm gonna call you on something. I kind of like like if you think about it, the mechanic outfit kind of makes sense, right? Like I mean,
yep.
he's a paramedic, and then he's just what do I have in my closet? Okay, this is it. This is good.
Yep.
But here's the thing: you hate in part 8 when Jason comes out of the water and all of a sudden he finds a carbon copy of his mask right there. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's an example of like maybe Roy was out looking for the right mat, the proper mat. And he's like, crap, all I got
He
is
couldn't
this
find
blue
he couldn't
chevron.
find a Detroit Red Wings, so he got like
It's realistic.
I don't know the St. Louis Blues, wherever's a blue hockey team.
Exactly. I
That's what
think it
he
was
got.
realistic. I think it was kind of
No,
cool.
no, that's an excellent point because like obviously that mask would have been in the news, especially because he was taken to the hospital and stuff. So maybe he couldn't he find a St. Louis Blues instead of a Detroit Red Wings. That's why it looked differently. I never thought of that. That's a good.
See?
That's classic.
Imposter Jason, yeah, and I one thing again with the continuity of the mask is like again when they did the flashbacks, it was his regular mask, and we liked that. Like it showed the contrast. At the time when you're watching it for the first time, you're a little unsure. You're like, okay, Jason has a new outfit. Okay, it's the new beginning, new wardrobe. But anyways, he I liked it. I liked it for what it was worth. I kind of like that wet bald head of Roy. I do have problems picturing him getting ready for a night of killing, getting that thing on his face and tucked in and everything like that. It's you gotta suspend some disbelief, but hey, it's Friday the 13th, so
And I have to mention it. It almost looks like he had a smile on his face when he's dead on the ground, and he's got those spikes. He had like a slight little grin.
It's kind of like it was pushed up or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It always bothers me. I'm like, it looks
yeah.
like you said, it's like a little.
Yeah, it's kind of like just the angle, I think. Yeah, but Roy, what can you say? We move on from Roy though. Jason Lives. So this is a turning point because this is where we get what we know now as Zombie Jason. It started in part 6, and it up until the remake, pretty much, it's sustained. So I'll let you unpack on this one.
My favorite film, my favorite look, C.J. Graham. I love it. I have this sitting on top of all my comic boxes. Awesome. I want to put it in a fish tank one day.
That's beautiful.
And again, the continuity is solid just with the whole when Tommy goes to dig him up with Rorschach, and Tommy's got these gloves. He's got the tool belt because he's going to go undig it. And then after what happens, Jason puts the tool belt on. He puts the gloves on. He's like, that's smart. Like, I think most people wouldn't even, most villains or demons or whatever he is by that point wouldn't think, oh, let me put these gloves on. But now he's like, oh, I'm back to life. Oh, let me put on gloves and use a tool belt. It's like ingenuity. It's like Jason showed some like ingenuity there, and I kind of love it. I love his look. The slash is still there, and I love how when he gets shot with the paintballs in later films, you still see the paint splotches and the bullet holes and everything. It's just, I love this look of Jason.
Really, eh? So I'm a little on the fence. I'm a little on the fence with Jason. Part 6. I thought C.J. Graham was like a beast, but I thought it didn't really show because he was tucked in. Okay. So my issues with Jason in Part 6 are he's tucked in. I wasn't a fan of the utility belt. I know we differ on opinion on we have difference of opinion on this. I wasn't a fan of that utility belt. Although at least he utilized it, it wasn't just
he did use like the little stuff.
So that I liked. I did like that he used it. I didn't like the gloves. Now, for me, one of the things with the gloves is the colors. I just didn't like that. Like, it was kind of like a beige yellow,
like yellow gardening gloves, almost like
and I was just like, that just doesn't, that doesn't work for me. The other thing is again, this is like part of. Just they customize masks for the actors and stuff. I found that Part 6 was just like a big round mask. Like, it was very. Oh, okay. I didn't think it was too contoured to the face. Like, and I obviously it's probably CJ's.
Oh, head. Okay. I'm picturing it now. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, it didn't do like the on the sides like you would think. It was just kind of like.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to look up see if I have my Part 6 one here. I don't have it round. That's just
This is just signed by Graham, but I think like it was like kind of out like this a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Do I have it here? I have so many here, and I don't have that one here. But anyways, so those there were a couple of things I just didn't like about Part 6. I love that they kept the color scheme of his outfit together. And then, I even though you don't really get to see it in the graveyard, his face at the very beginning, you really don't get to see it, especially when I first saw it on VHS. It was very, very dark, and since then, DVD, Blu-ray, all that magic, they've been able to kind of like bring it out of the dark, and I love it. I love that look. I think it's a cool look. Brian Wade was responsible for the sculpt of that. I got, let's see here, I got version 1, the Bradley Hood sculpt, Brian Wade, actor Dan Bradley. Yeah, that's right. There was 2 actors for this for a little while before CJ kind of took over. They replaced this Dan Bradley. But anyways, I thought Part 6 had a little bit of a look that I wasn't a big fan of, and it's funny how you think it was.
No, that's what I like about this podcast.
Yeah,
we don't have to agree on everything. That's what I love about it.
All right, so Part 7 happens, and while Part 7 is not necessarily on record for being the greatest Friday the 13th installment, Jason's look is absolutely adored, appreciated beyond, and
I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll let you go on to start.
Yeah, so obviously I have it. He looks like he's been in the water for years. His clothes are torn. When he gets out of the water and you see the spine, and another a detail a lot of people miss is the mask is chipped because when the boat propeller hit him in the neck, it snapped the mask.
Yeah.
And again, I love the continuity with that. Obviously played by arguably one of the most well-known Jason actors, Kane Hodder. He's an intimidating man. He made Jason look scary. I'll say C.J. Graham didn't really make Jason look as scary as Kane Hodder did. Kane Hodder was great. Even though those films are a little misaligned and not the best, he made Jason look scary.
Yeah. He had the mask. Like, it was just like he was a thick dude.
He knows how to move. It's like he knows how to move.
Yeah, he brought a style to it. And, you know, he pounds his chest with, you know, the things that he brought to the role. And rightfully so, because like they're very identifiable. You know, like if someone's pretending to be Jason scaring their friends, they're likely doing the Kane Hodder Jason, right? Like, you know, and he just loved it so much. So we'll save that for the actors. But the look of Jason in this one, you know, was a kid's dream, right? You always want tattered and ripped. So when I saw it when I was a kid, he just looked like it was like heaven. It was like, oh man, that is a look. How do I look back at the green shirt and you know and trousers that he was wearing in 3 and 4?
He looked all clean and like iron. Yeah. It's just like
and only through years of, you know, coming back and appreciating the early work, you know, was I able to let that go. But when, you know, part 7 was scaling Everest, right? It was summiting Everest, and you know, that was John Buechler who directed and created the look, and he was instrumental in what became so great about that look, and that was that every detail that, you know, was in the face, that every wound, every you know, he used common sense to just sculpt and build something that made sense. And then on top of that, talk about a guy who was on his game. You know, there's a scene towards the end where Jason gets the gas on him and blows up in the house. And then you see him again on the dock, and if you look, his face is burnt even more. And it's actually like, it's not like, you know, he just kind of stumbles out with the same great makeup. No, his face is burnt. His skin is actually sheared back even more. It was just brilliant attention to detail. You know, maybe one day we'll see the film with all its, you know, its edits removed.
Yeah, you know? There's some good kills
and that would be a beautiful thing. But anyways, chef's kiss to part 7. I don't know.
Yep.
What
no problems with it. It looks great.
So, which brings us to part 8, and part 8 is so there's excuse me.
If you told me it was the same actor, I would have said really, because to me, part 8 he looks smaller.
You think so? Yeah.
He looks a little smaller, and obviously he's just wet the entire. Yeah. He's slimy and wet.
Which
I don't. He just slimy and wet, and he just so happens to find an identical mask. I don't want to get too much into on a sidetrack, but it pains me to criticize anything Kane Hodder did. I know it wasn't him; he did the best he could, but I just didn't dig the look. It was just he was too black and slimy.
I didn't mind it. Like I like the wet look. I didn't like how his clothes kind of like got, you know, more filled in, and like, you know, obviously that was for makeup reasons and stuff like that. Yeah,
he just changed and put on a new shirt.
Exactly, but with a few rips here and there. But he had kind of a cool look. The mask was oddly yellow. In that one, I didn't like that, and I've said this before, I've touched on this before, like, I mean, his face at the end when he gets unmasked is just, it's comedy. It's like, it's a pumpkin, and I just, you know, I'm looking, okay, I'm just looking here. I mean, feel free, chat away about what your take is. I mean, you kind of already did, but like, am I alone on this? Like the
it's
mask,
just like I said.
Mask.
He moved. Like again, I'd be hard to believe it was Kane Hodder. It just didn't feel like the same actor. He was more imposing in part 7. He looked bigger. I think he moved a little bit differently in this one. But again, we're just talking about straight looks. Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but it just didn't. Maybe because I'm aligned on the movie, I really don't care for it.
Yeah, man, that doesn't really
it's
matter.
just it kind of And we've talked about it in the past, the fact that Kane Hodder is in 4 films. Unfortunately, they're not the highest films in the franchise. I mean, Gross, if you love him, God bless whoever loves him. If you're listening, you love him, great. Let me know in the comments. But what do you guys think? If Kane Hodder, the person most synonymous with Dayton, playing Jason Voorhees, was in 4 of the bottom half of the franchise, some would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't deny it, right? To a man, I think he would admit it too, right? But so, of course, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not even going to name the makeup artist for Part 8 because I think it was, I'd like to think that they went on to have better careers, but I did not. I hate Part 8's makeup.
Well, they just gave up at the end and put a kid in his underwear in the sewer because they're like, toxic waste, it cleans you up.
Talk about running out of time or money or whatever. That was just like, there's a lot of embarrassment.
We'll talk for hours if we get down a rabbit hole on this.
Yeah, part. I know. We'll try and stay positive because it did have some coolness about it. Again, Kane Hodder stature and all that. Part 9. I'll let you go on Part 9 to start. And
so obviously this was the big one that. Oh no, I was jumping to Freddy versus Jason. Now, Jason Goes to Hell. No one I forgot about it. Not much to say. He's barely in it. I like how he looks bigger again and more intimidating and imposing. I did like that. It's kind of cool how the mask was kind of fused to his face. That kind of works. I don't know continuity. People say, "Oh, that's what happened when the toxic waste hit him and it washed him out back into Crystal Lake. That's why he's over there now." But that's continuity. His clothes are different, which doesn't make sense. But then again, he must have found her because was he naked at the end of Part 8? So all that continuity really throws it into, which is weird. And I bring it up because the first that we've been talking about, his look is continuity fits for the first half of the franchise.
Yeah,
pretty solid with the degradation of the clothes, and like now it's just like, okay, let's put him in a new outfit.
Yeah.
Let's put him in a new outfit. But again, you don't see him that much. I really can't comment. The little that you do see Jason, then again, he kind of looked a little bit bloated.
Oh yeah. Part 8, I kind of dug the look minus the unmasking. Part 9, I did not like at all. I thought, he looked bloated. He looked chubby. The mask embedded into his head. Okay, cool idea, but his head was enormous. It looked like pumpkin.
Yeah, it like grown over his.
Yeah, and it just looked like he was like dealing with like some sort of disease, right? Like where it's just like, I don't know. It was just so not on par. He had been bald at this point for so long. They threw some scraps of hair on there, and then the outfit again. I don't know what I'd have to really analyze because there's some different lightings with this outfit, and there's that a couple of shots where the bright light. It literally looks like he's wearing denim on denim. And I'm sorry.
I gotta go look at that now.
If Jason looks like he's wearing denim on denim, you've gone astray. And
you can't do denim on denim.
we'll leave it at that. Tell me if you think I'm kind of crazy, but there's a couple of shots there where the lighting is really exposed, and I just think he looks like he looks a little bit funny that way. Part 10. There's 2 Jasons in Part 10. Obviously, there's the regular Jason, which I thought it was like the most sterile version of Jason.
I like that.
Right? Like the mask was just angular, and that was kind of silly, and I didn't like that at all.
It had like a new nose shape to it.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I don't know where that was, And then again, he's got some frizz on his head again, but it's not a lot. It's just a little bit. It's just texture, I guess. The look of Jason before he became Uber Jason to me was very pedestrian. It looked like.
I like that.
Similar to what he was, but just I don't know.
They didn't try.
No,
it's like they didn't try.
They knew what was coming. They didn't coming.
They didn't try.
All right, I'll let you take Uber Jason. Go for it.
So yeah, Uber Jason, and I've mentioned it when we did our rankings. What I love about Uber Jason is when I think KM blows him to shit and everything, and like right into the med bay. And the med bay says, "Oh, let me repair these injuries," and it's just like insufficient tissue damage, and it starts using like the tray, the metal around everything to turn him into Uber Jason. I mean, the tagline was "Evil gets an upgrade." That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
They gave him up, and they didn't go too far, like make him shoot lasers and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, no, he got an upgrade. He got like metallic body parts. He's like pretty much bulletproof now. Yeah. That's a technological upgrade that's synonymous with the futuristic part of the film that I just really love. There's something new you haven't seen before. Most in-space films don't work. Arguably, I think Jason X is the best horror film that takes place in space. It's better than the Hellraiser ones and Critters and oil movies that go into space. Yeah, Leprechaun in space. So I just Uber Jason is pretty. I do have some love for Jason X, and Uber Jason's got a pretty tight look.
It took me years to come to appreciate anything about Jason X, and now I can. And I could appreciate that look for what it is. Okay, let's not say that this was like the movie that you wanted to see back then. Obviously, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that was cool. It was a comic book version of Jason. We got to see it. It's out there. It is what it is, and I think it's pretty cool. I would like to see comics. I'd like to see that Jason battle some superheroes. I think it's pretty cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, right. Let's see him take on Spider-Man. And I just thought they did a really, really cool job. That's creativity, and sometimes that franchise gets knocked down for not being as creative as like an Elm Street or something like that. They got creative there, and maybe they jumped the shark. Well, they probably jumped out a long time ago, but they got creative. They did something unique, and I think it looks good. I mean, whether you like the movie or not, that's a pretty cool look, and I'm kind of happy it exists. And I'm telling you, 20 years ago, Jason. Me would not have said that. So I've come a long way. I've softened.
There you go.
I've softened. But okay, so Freddy versus Jason. So the obvious is Kane Hodder was out, and they brought in Ken Kurtzinger, and he looked like he was like a foot taller than Kane Hodder, which says something because Kane is massive. But didn't have the bulk, and it showed. It was a lanky kind of look.
Yeah.
They put on an overcoat or a cover. I always say pullover because I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, like some weird jacket.
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm not a fan of that at all. I'm not a fan of the look of him in Freddy vs. Jason, from stature to outfit to mask.
Yep.
Not a fan. I'll just leave it at that.
And I don't got to say much else. I agree. And I hate the platform boots that they give him. Why'd you make him... I guess they wanted him that much taller than Robert Englund or whatnot. And he moved like Frank... It was like they pretty much just made Frankenstein with a hockey mask. Yeah, is what they did.
Look at some of the promo pictures of him standing there. It looks like Frankenstein.
It's that those platform boots it's Frankenstein, and he moves like Frankenstein in the film, very slow and lumbering.
Yeah,
and it just the mask has got nothing. The look does nothing for me.
It's not at all. Again, it's I would say it's mailed in, but it wasn't. I think they worked on this, and it's just it's a shame.
At least Kane Hodder got to throw Ken Kurtzinger into that mirror in part 8.
Yes, exactly.
It's just funny enough that a few films later, he is playing Jason when he got killed by Jason.
And he's like, "Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to take your." But and this is no knock on Ken Kurtzinger.
No, not at all.
And
when you hear Kane Hodder, you hear Kane Hodder talk about wanting. That's the movie he wanted.
Yeah.
Kane Hodder versus Robert Englund. That's the movie you wanted, and they just took it for him. And I think Ronnie, was it Ronnie Yu? Yeah, he's I think he wanted somebody more imposing, more taller than Robert Englund. But then again, he also did Jason's.
He clearly wanted taller because you got a guy that's a good 4 inches taller than Kane Hodder, and then threw platforms on him. Like, like I don't know how big it's like Rob Zombie, like, you know, with a 10-foot Michael Myers. It's like, you know, like, the shape in the woods that no one can see that, you know, is the size of a tree. It's just like, you know, you go too much sometimes, and it's just like you shoot yourself in the foot. That being said, you know, I mean, I do know that's a popular look now for Jason. That, you know, the coat and the undershirt and you know, again, I've never really been big on that.
It's tough.
Yes. Yeah, but okay, and so now we go to the final one, which is the remake. And in the remake, he did a couple of outfit changes. He was like Mariah Carey in this film. He performed in sack, and he performed in the sack. He performed in a sack, and he performed with the mask. And I liked both. Yep. I didn't love either. That's the short of it from my point of view, but feel free to chat on that one.
Like I said, I like both. I have some love for the remake because I think Derek Mears did a great job. Mm-hmm. He was a good Derek Mears was a good Jason. Another thing, I think it's Hatchet 3. Derek Mears plays a SWAT officer, and Kane Hodder plays Hatchet, and they get to go toe to toe, which is kind of fun. Yeah. But I like the look. Now, it's the first time you really see Jason with hair, but this is a different Jason than we've seen before. So it makes sense that he may have long hair. I kind of like the duster jacket that they give him, how he's got the holster with the machete. Mm-hmm. He's more tactical. Yeah. He's like, this is like Hunter Jason to me. Yeah. He's setting traps. He's got his machete in a holster and everything. You know, he's got his own little makeshift like shack where he's living in underground with like alarm systems of like cans like to alert you.
AT&T.
So it's a more intelligent Jason, so I can see why they did an upgrade with his clothes.
Yeah.
And everything like that. And I don't mind it. I think it works well how he got the mask and everything. He's an opposing figure. And he moves fast, like in the beginning when he's running at the guy, he slams a machete into his head.
Yeah.
He made Jason scary again. Like, in Freddy vs. Jason, he's slow. I can run and he ain't catching me. Yeah. This Jason is catching me. So more imposing.
Definitely, definitely the look of him in this one. I did like I'd mentioned. I love the bald. I liked how they went back to the clean bald. Obviously he had hair, but like just, you know, the not zombie Jason is what I'm trying to get at. I thought it was okay. You know, nothing. I'm not gonna spin my wheels on this one, but could have been better. Sure, but definitely wasn't the disappointment in that film for me. All right, man, we did it. We did it. What's your favorite look of Jason?
Going through this now, I mean, there's so many good ones. It's hard. Like, movie aside,
okay, if you 100%.
Just showing the movies aside, how I feel about the movie. Part 7 is probably terrifying. Like if I walked across, if I'm walking in the woods and I'm walking past all these ones, and I had to choose which door I'm not going behind, it's Part 7. It's Part 7.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it, like I said before, I'm gonna give it to 3, and that is a close second for Part 7.
Oh yeah.
And I know 3 and 4 are very similar, but I just give the edge to 3. Just I just, like I said, Richard Brooker's posture, just the shoulders, I kind of love that, a little bit. I don't know.
And maybe a discussion for a future episode. What if they just kept the sack?
What if they kept the sack?
How do you think the franchise could have changed or evolved if they just that might be a future episode we should just let us know in the comments if you'd like us to discuss that.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, you could think about that one, and I don't think it would have been a horrible franchise, but I wonder if it would have had the legs. All right, so That's the many looks of Jason. There was plenty. And what's your favorite? Which one did you hate? Which one did you really think missed the mark? Which one? Give us a mashup: face, mask, and clothes if you can. That's always fun to do. Follow on Instagram, but mostly follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, like us. And we'll keep this show going, and we're also heard audio wise on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, where all podcasts can be heard. We're everywhere, so we're easy to find, and we're easygoing guys. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have ideas, throw them our way. Let's hear it.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, just love the Friday world. So that's all I have to say, and Uncle Pete, any final parting words?
No, appreciate it. Thanks, you guys, for listening or watching. Appreciate you guys just checking us out. Share, like, comment, all that fun stuff. And, keep loving Friday. We do.
Awesome. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye.
Later.